Before we begin today's program, please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the features on the screen that will be used during the event. The chat box will be used to submit questions during the question and answer session. To use, simply click the chat box icon, select host Brianne James, type your question, and send. The reactions button will be used for interactions during the event. To use, click the reaction icon and select your desired emoji. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Brianne James, and I'm the guest host for today's book talk brought to you by FA's Marketplace. Book Talk is a series by FA's Marketplace that gives local authors a platform to discuss their work, have a book signing, and book reading in the community. If you would like to support Book Talk and other programs at FA's Marketplace, please donate at fasmarketplace.org. That's fasmarketplace.org. Today, I will be talking to author and educator, Dr. Jasoe Sharpe Hargrove. Dr. Jasoe is an educator who has been in the field of education for over 14 years. During this time, she has helped to mold children in the United States of America, the United Arab Emirates, the Republic of Liberia, and the People's Republic of China. Dr. Jasoe has always been proud of her heritage and culture. With roots in Liberia, West Africa, Dr. Jasoe always tries to incorporate her culture and heritage into her books. In her first published book, My ABCs of Africa, Dr. Jasoe takes readers on a journey throughout Africa with the use of the alphabet. It is Dr. Jasoe's goal that this project exposes readers to Africa's vast diversity and removes negative bias. In her second book, Bele Goes Down Memory Lane, Dr. Jasoe introduces her readers to a fictional girl who is learning about her family's heritage and is eager to share with others. Now that we've gotten to know a little bit more about Dr. Jasoe, let's get a bit more personal. Hello, Dr. Jasoe. How are you doing today?
Hello, hi. I'm doing great.
That's good. First of all, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to be talking to you today. Let's just get right into it. First of all, Dr. Jasoe, what inspired you to start writing?
Well, honestly, I have not always liked writing. I usually never did well in school in writing. But I come to find out as I got older that academic writing was just not my thing. So that's why I never did so well in school. I'm a free writer. Now, why did I start writing on the concept or topic that I'm writing on? It's because as a child growing up in Liberia, I used to like reading. Reading was always my thing. That's what I wanted. That's what I use as a hideout. And I'm one of those readers who wanted to get into the book, become the character. And I did realize that a lot of the books that I read did not represent who I was. So, I mean, I didn't give it a lot of thought as a child, but as I got older, I traveled and became a teacher, dived more into different genre. I realized that this was more evident and then, um, so I decided that I wanted a book that represented me, but I made a promise to myself that I was going to write it. Why not me? If I wanted to see it in the world and then I needed to write the book. So I decided I was going to write the book, but I promised myself also that I was going to be intentional and focus more on the positive aspect of Africa.
Yeah, I can totally relate to not seeing a lot of representation of yourself, whether it's on TV, in movies, in books. And sometimes, if other people aren't going to represent you, you have to take it upon yourself to do that. And I love what you're doing and how you're able to bring your culture into your stories. Speaking of that, how exactly are you bringing your heritage and your culture into your books?
Well, for my first book, I wanted my ABCs of Africa. I thought about the alphabet. Yes, the alphabet is pretty much worldwide. We all if you're learning English, you need to learn it. But in Africa, we're saying it is for apple. But apple is such an abstract thing growing up different parts of the world. So that's why I decided, okay, I'm going to use the alphabet. We have things in Africa that represents us that are not things that are Western. So that's what the focus was. Okay, specifically things that are from and unique to Africa.
And speaking about your second book, Bailey Goes Down Memory Lane, how exactly do you think that you, do you see some of yourself in your character Bailey? And if so, what do you see in her that reminds you of yourself as a young girl?
Yes, I do. I do see a lot of myself. In fact, reading to some of my students, and sometimes when I go to do book reads, they're like, "That's you on the cover," and I said, "Well, technically, that's not me, but yeah, it's me, because Willie is. She's a girl that she really didn't realize this much richness in her culture. I mean, grown up knowing these things. Okay, her parents are kind of different, but yeah, we're assuming all of our parents are kind of different. So, but as she's learning that, it's an eye opener for her. She's like, oh wow, wait, I want to tell people this is what I have. This is my heritage. Wow, I need people to know where I'm from and how awesome this is. So yeah, I kind of see a little bit of that.
Definitely. Well, now that we've gotten to know a little bit more about your books, why don't you read a little bit of an excerpt from them for us?
Okay, I will. So I will first start with my ABCs of Africa. I will first start with my ABCs of Africa. My ABCs of Africa, written by Dr. Jasoe Sharpe Hargrove. A is for Africa. Africa is the second largest continent and the second most populated continent in the world. It is extremely rich with a vast variety of traditions, landforms, animals, plants, cultures, religions, and climates. There are 54 countries in Africa with over 1.2 billion people speaking over 1,000 languages. And this is something that I discovered as I did my research on my book, because I knew, Africa had many different languages. I didn't know there were over 1,000. I'm sorry. G. G is for Goliath. Goliath frog, I'm sorry. The Goliath frog, the world's largest frog, is also a habitant of Africa. The body of the Goliath frog can grow up to approximately 12 inches long. That's about the length of a ruler, and weigh about 7 pounds. Do you know what else weighs about 7 pounds? Most babies, when they're born, imagine seeing a frog that big. This frog can be found mostly in Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea along moving water. L. L It's very special to me because L represents where I'm from. L is for Liberia. Liberia is Africa's first republic. She declared her independence in 1847. In 2006, Liberia became the first African nation in Africa to elect a female president, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. P. P is for Pyramids of Giza. The Pyramids of Giza, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, is found in Egypt. Pyramids were royal tombs built for pharaohs and their families for after for life after death. Although Egypt is well known for pyramids, Sudan has the most amount of pyramids in Africa. This was something I also discovered during my research because I honestly thought Egypt was the only place in Africa that had pyramids. Q. Q is for Queen Zenga. Queen Anna Zenga was the queen of Dongo and Matamba, kingdoms of Angola from 1624 to 1663. She was referred to as the African warrior queen because of her fight against the compelling of her people into slavery. So Queen Zenga, with her girl power, was fighting to make sure that her people were not stolen and taken, captured, and sent to other parts of the world and forced into slavery. S. S is for the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert, located in North Africa, is the world's largest hot desert. It is bordered by the Red Sea to the east, the Mediterranean Sea to the north, the Atlantic Ocean to the west, and to the west, I'm sorry. The area of the Sahara Desert is 3.6 million miles, covering 11 countries. And something that I discovered about this is also that a lot of times when we see maps, we see how little Africa looks on the map, but just know that the Sahara Desert is about the Sahara Desert is about the size of the continental US. So the 48 states of America, if you take that map and you put it in Africa, it would cover up just the Sahara Desert. T is for Timbuktu. Timbuktu is a city in Mali. The city is home to the world's first university, the University of Sankore. During the 14th century, Timbuktu was a very important place for education and commerce. People from different walks of life came here to learn and trade. Imagine that. And Z. Z is for Zanzibar. Zanzibar is an archipelago of Tanzania known for its beautiful white sandy beaches. The Arabs heavily influenced the culture and traditions of this island. Zanzibar was used as a midway for the Africans, Arabs, and European spice and slave trade. Now, I could not go without adding Zanzibar from my Z because this is one of my favorite places I've visited. And it is so beautiful. You can look at the water and see the different shades of blue, and the sand are indeed white. This is actually an actual picture from one of my visits. So yeah, this is a few pages from this book. So if you want to read and find out more, I would suggest you do that by getting this book. Now, I will read a few pages in my second book, where it goes down memory lane. Well, it goes down memory lane by Dr. Jasoe. Chapter 1, Broken Dream. It was the first day of school, and Mama dropped me off early like she always did since I started school. Because she had to be to work at early, I got dropped off before most kids. Our principal let us, the early kids, hang out in the school lobby. She has no idea how much of a help she is, Mama would say before letting me out of the car, but not with my see you later, kids. Mama would wait until I entered into the building before driving off. This morning, as soon as I entered, I saw Mr. Langley right at the door, greeting the kids. Good morning, Willie, he said. Wow, you know my name and even said it right, I said so softly. I don't think he heard me because he had already begun asking me another question. Are you glad to be back, Bella? Yes, sir, I uttered excitedly. Summer this year was great as always, I continued, but I missed my friends at school. Mr. Langley was the school's counselor. He never got out of his office much. He knew my name and even said it right. That was the first sign that I would have a great school year. After I told him about my summer and how I was happy to be back to school, he told me he didn't have much of a summer. I thought that was weird. I knew he never left his office, but I had no idea that he was stuck in that office, even during the summer months. It was all about getting things done. The story of my life, he added as he scratched his head. Now I was more confused, but I smiled and let him think I understood what he had just said. Who is your teacher this year, Willard? Miss Boatwright, I said with the largest grin on my face. Miss Boatwright is not coming back this year, but don't worry. You have a fantastic teacher taking over. Please don't say Miss Rain. Please don't say Miss Rain. I mumbled to myself those words at the same time saying a secret prayer. Then, just like that, it came out. Miss Rain will be teaching grade 2 this year. She is taking over for Miss Boatwright's class. He revealed, isn't that so kind of her? I was hoping that was one of those questions that people ask but don't really expect an answer. Either way, I had better things, issues on my mind than Miss Rain's sacrifice. At that very moment, I felt a hot drop of a tear on my one cheek. It must have been invisible because Mr. Langley laughed and stated, fantastic teacher equals fantastic school year. All the teachers, for some reason, thought Miss Rain was fantastic. That was something we kids did not bother finding out for ourselves. All I knew at this moment was that for the first time in my life, I hated school. I think I was more sad and scared than worried. Either way, I wanted the summer vacation to reset and go back to when school first ended in May. Every student in my school knew Miss Rain was me. The children in her class were always quiet in the hallway. During assembly, they sat down and looked straight ahead and wouldn't dare twitch or fidget. I heard some of the big kids say that they didn't think she liked kids. They said that she would make a kid cry by giving them, just by looking at them. She had the rain look. I was told that one day during assembly, a boy in her class thought he heard someone call his name and turned around. She'd give him the rain look. The next 2 days, after afraid of what would become of him, the boy stayed home. I tried to hide my fear, but Mr. Langley noticed anyway. You had such a great year in the first grade, and I know you will have a great school year this year, encouraged Mr. Langley. I managed to quickly put on a smile, except it was one of those smiles I use with Mama's friends at church. Well, I I don't know about that, I said to myself as I scurried away to the morning waiting area. Maybe it was because it was a new school year. or something, but the bell took forever to ring, leaving me to replay what I had just heard. The busy morning hallway traffic was continuing without a pause, but I had no time to pay attention to anything. I heard a few hellos and other happy return to schoolness, but nothing could distract me from what was going on in my head. I was focused on coming up with a plan. I needed a great plan on how I would explain to mama that I wanted to transfer to a new school. I don't remember anyone else sitting next to me or trying to talk directly to me. My mind was too busy making plans for my new school. So, guys, I'm going to stop here. That's the end of chapter 1. And I want you to grab this book so you can find out what happens next. Does Willie go to a new school? Does she just not go to Miss Rain's class? You can find out after you read the rest of the book.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jasoe, for reading your books. It was very, very interesting. I just would like to let everyone know we will now be having a Q&A after the book reading. So if you are interested in asking Dr. Jasoe a question, you can write it in the chat to me privately. And if you would like to ask Dr. Jasoe a question yourself, you can raise your hand and I will take off your camera. That way you can ask it directly to her. So to fill in the space, I'll ask a few questions of my own while you guys are sending your questions in. So right now I would like to talk about Bailey Goes Down Memory Lane. I really love that first chapter. It's really important when reading that first chapter of a book that you're kind of like hooked on it. And one thing that really caught my attention was how Bailey was so surprised that her teacher knew how to pronounce her name right. And I may not have such a hard name to pronounce as Bailey, but for some reason, Brienne, people can get it wrong. They say like Brianna, Brian. So I can definitely relate to that. So quick question about my ABCs of Africa. I know that you had to do some research for that book, but what are some letters that you maybe struggled with doing research for?
Oh, I really struggled finding something. The one that stuck out, like Q, like it was the one letter that I think it made this book not be published the time it was supposed to, because I could not find anything. I'm like, Q, like where do you just? So when I found out that Queen Zenga was all this stuff that I read about her, I was like, that's it, because yeah, it took forever just to find something, and also X. I could not just find something on X until the more I read. That was the thing. I was so caught up in reading things that are out there, things that are already in, on the internet or in the media, that I did not think to just keep digging. So the more that I dug, I found more information on how unique and diverse Africa is.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also have another question for ABCs of Africa. Why did you choose, the particular people, places, things, and animals that you chose to put in your book? How exactly did you go about choosing what to include in your book?
I honestly, with my intention being to stay away from the stereotype, I had to make sure it wasn't the usual, safari and and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, you better not put any lions and any crying babies in here. So I guess that's how I came up with that, because the harder it got, the easier, the more confirming it was for me that this belongs in this book. And yeah, that's how I honestly came up with it, because the goal was to stay away from the stereotype.
Thank you so much. Now, moving on to Bailey Goes Down Memory Lane. What are some things in your book that you personally related to and decided to include?
I actually included a part of like the beaches in Liberia because every time I go to visit, that's where I go to hang out. So I was like, okay, let's start her off with information about the beaches, but also I included something about Todi. So that's a little town that my family is from. So I was like, okay, maybe I can add something about my town and, see how her family is from this town, but then they have so much respect and just being from this town or visiting this town, it's so important because her family is from there.
Just a quick reminder to everybody that's just coming on, we are going to be having a Q&A. So if you would like to ask Dr. Jasoe a question about her book or about her experiences writing, please message it to me in the chat privately. And if you would like to talk to Dr. Jasoe yourself and ask her your own question, you can raise your hand and I will take your camera off. That way you can ask her. Okay, so we got our first question. So what inspired you to write your second book?
Um, my second book actually was supposed to be my first, so to speak, because like I said earlier, I'm a free writer. So I just sit and write. I wrote this book when I got halfway through, I wasn't interested anymore because it was supposed to be a picture book. And I could not find the ending to this book. Like, how do I, when I write as a free writer, I just write. And for some reason, I feel like you hear those words in your head, the end. That's how you know you're done. So I could not, for this book, for the life of me. And then when I wrote this book and I reminded myself that the point of writing this book is to write a book and include my heritage or my culture. Then I went back to this book and like, okay, let me include something. And that's a complete turnaround in the when you read up to the middle of this book, you see the complete turnaround to include the heritage.
Okay, while we're waiting for some more questions, would you mind maybe reading a little bit more about a little bit more of one of your two books?
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and read probably one, two, three, a few pages in where it goes down memory lane. Chapter 2, facing my fear. Cling, 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 cling went the sound of the bell coming from the principal's office. The never-ending, loud, obnoxious sound of the bell took me out of my daze. That's when I noticed that everyone had left for their classrooms. I slowly got up and grabbed my backpack that I had laid in front of me unattended. As heavy as my body felt, I still managed to walk toward my classroom. I stood by the classroom door, hoping other kids were already in there. The silence from the room told me that there were no other students in the classroom. Other than the usual sounds of teachers' busyness, there was nothing, not one student. I think they've all found out that Miss Rain had, I'm sorry, I think they'd all found out about Miss Rain and decided not to come back to the school. Poor me. Why didn't I find out earlier like everyone else? Sadness took over my thoughts, removing fear for a brief moment. For some reason, that felt more comforting, but only for a brief moment. I had no choice in that moment but to comfort myself. I told myself it would be okay, but my heart wouldn't listen. It was beating so fast and loud that anyone standing next to me would have heard it. I started to feel sick. My stomach felt stirred up, sort of like I wanted to both barf and do a number two at the same time. Great, I said to myself. Now I had reason to go home, a real reason to go to the office and call mama. She said that I should call her if I felt sick. Oh no, now my head is aching. The pounding of my head matched that of my heart. I opened and shut my eyes a few times, but that didn't seem to help anything. This is better than perfect. I really am sick. The timing is perfect. When I call mama after hearing all of my symptoms, she won't even think to tell me to try and finish the day. Stomach ache, headache, and heart problems are a big deal. They are the kind of things that will even put you in the hospital. I hate hospitals, but at this moment, I would settle for whatever I could get as long as it would buy me time to figure out how I could avoid being in Miss Rain's class. In fact, I thought I would not be back at school for a while, maybe a long while even. Come on in. You can wait for the others in here as you unpack, Miss Wren yelled, terrifying me even more. Okay, I'm going to stop right here on that. Um,
Okay, well, thank you so much for reading. I have a ton of new questions. Remember, guys, if you would like to ask Dr. Jasoe a question yourself, please raise your hand and I will turn off your video camera and you can unmute yourself. That way you can ask it to her more personally, kind of like as if we're in real life instead of, being on Zoom. So let's see. I'll start with a question. Let's see. This one is from Becca. Did you enjoy writing one book more than the other?
um, no, the experiences were different. Like writing a fictional story, for me, it comes naturally. So I would say I enjoyed it, but then there are times where my brain just goes blank and I can sit there in front of a white paper forever and not be able to write anything. So there are days where things are better and things are not. But my ABCs of Africa, even though it required a lot of work and a lot of research, I enjoyed it for a different reason. The reason was because I learned so much. And I actually was more excited when I was done writing it because I'm like, whoa, I didn't know any of these things. I'm from Africa. I should have known these. So yeah. So I enjoy writing both for two different reasons.
Okay, so this is a question from Shernette James. What is the biggest difference between the US and Africa?
Um, well, I'm going to answer that question. Just refer back to the letter A. So just remember, Africa is very diverse, not just in the people that are there, but as also the region. So you could be in one country, just sharing border with another country, and um, and the culture would be different. So when I get a question like that, I'm thinking, I wouldn't know. I can tell you the difference between Liberia, because that's the one place I lived the longest in America, but not, yeah, not even Sierra Leone being a country right next door. And growing up in Liberia, it was fun. It was fun. I liked just, your neighbors were like your family. People were in and out, looking out for kids. But now you have to be so overprotective of your kids being here because you're afraid somebody might, just that's just one example. Um, or the fact that you can just get up, one morning and walk to the beach, or just different things. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Okay, so I just got a message from T. They said that they don't have a raise hand button. I would like to ask my question if you didn't ask it yet. My question is about her students. Just a second. I will take your camera off. Let me just do that right now. That way you can ask Dr. Jasoe your question.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Jasoe. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Yes, I can relate to you because I'm a teacher and I teach second grade. So I'm so excited just hearing about your books and like I said, learning stuff. And like if we ever get back into the classroom, I definitely will be having your books in my class library because the students, I have like a diverse, group of students in my class from Africa, from everywhere, so they can make that connection. So when you said you read the books from your students, my question was two questions. How did they react to your books? What was their connection? And number two, how old are your students?
I read up to age 11. The students that I read to the first before I even published my books were third graders.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they loved it. They loved it, especially the first I read the first two chapters to them. So they could relate to the fact that, okay, first day of school, the excitement, or getting a teacher that you're not really sure of. So they could relate. And then as they go on, as you go more into the book, it changes. So just it's just a typical day for a child. So they did like that. Now with the ABCs of Africa, my intention was to have parents or some adult involved. So yeah, like I said, everything about this book is intentional. I have the alphabet written large and with the bright colors and everything, so a kid can just pick it up and look at the pictures. But in order to understand what's the wordings and all of that, the intention was to have an adult. So yeah, my target audience is up to third, fourth grade, but I do expect an adult to be involved. So you can tell them more. So you can do your own research and give them more than, I have in this book.
Yeah, I like it. So I can kind of relate to the book with the student not wanting to come to school. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait to figure out how it turned out. So I'm already visualizing it. So I can't wait to read, what the
Um,
yeah, good
awesome.
job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. This one is from Monica Williams, and the question says, do you represent yourself or the children in your life in your stories?
Yes, I do. I do. I mean, even though this book is not I'm going to bring it really close to the camera. In fact, I have a dog. I actually am working on a dog, the Willie dog. So even though this is not a picture book, I wanted to make sure that this character had the cornrows, like most of our little girls, Black or African little girls. We don't have the straight, long, curly. So I was like, okay, when the artist was when he was creating the character, because I had to describe it to him. And I told him, no, I don't like this until I see my cornrows going really good and I have the little puff up on the top, the bun on the top. No, you're not done. So I wanted to make sure that little Black girls see themselves as, yeah, that's me on that cover. And I've heard few kids say that, so um, yeah, I do see that my kids or myself or kids that I've worked with are represented in this character.
Thank you so much. Now, I just saw a very important question from Sandy Dixon that says, where can your books be purchased?
You can find my book on my website at drjasoe.com for an autographed copy. So go to drjasoe.com and you can get an autographed copy of my book. Just a regular copy, you can get it off Amazon. Yeah, So you go on Amazon, just do a search for Dr. Jasoe and it'll come up.
Thank you so much. Okay, this question is from Musu Stewart. Sorry if I messed up your name. It says, do you have an audiobook?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I'm working. I did have an audiobook, but then I had to pull back for few issues with it. But we're back in working on those technical issues that we had. So it might be available on other platforms, just not Audible yet, because we had to pull it back from Audible because of their technicality. But yes, we do have the audio version.
Okay, we've got a lot of great questions coming in. Sorry if I haven't asked your question yet. I'm just trying to go through to make sure that I can get to everyone. Okay, let's see. This one is from Shanake Salmon. Has the pandemic affected your creative writing in any way? And will there be a book on how the pandemic has affected Africa?
I don't know. That's a good idea. Maybe I should jot that down. No, my fictional books, which is, I don't know, I write it based on how I feel. So I don't know. I might wake up because 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, that's the time my brain just wakes up. So like I tell people, my brain and I don't have the same sleep schedule, but I could just wake up and just start writing. Like it flows out of my head. That's how I write it. So I don't know. I could consider that. Maybe the more I think about it, okay. Or if anything, maybe a non-fictional book on the pandemic in Africa would probably be a great route.
Well, it looks like the people on the call are kind of giving you some new ideas.
Yeah.
Let's see. So next question is also from Musu Stewart. Are your books sold in Liberia? And if so, are they read in some Liberian schools?
No, not yet. Well, it is sold in Liberia. My ABCs of Africa. I have a vendor that has it, but since the pandemic, things slowed down. So I'm hoping to have more in Liberia before the Christmas holiday. So I've done a virtual reading for 1 or 2 places, but to actually be in Liberia, because the book was in, I have not been back home since I published the book. So I've only done a virtual reading. But yeah, if you want copies, I will have information about copies on my website in Liberia. It will be available by Christmas. If you don't find any information, just message me on my website or Dr. Jasoe consults at Gmail, and I can give you every information.
Okay, just a reminder to everyone on here, if you would like me to turn off your video, I know some people were having issues with raising your hand, just message me privately and I can turn on your video. That way you can ask your question. Okay, next question is from Janine Stegel. What are your current ties to giving children in Liberia access to your books?
Well, I have family in Liberia, obviously, but the goal is to have some shipped by before the Christmas holiday. So but I'm hoping to have, to work directly with, I don't know, the education ministry or wherever. My last visit in Liberia, I did a research. I went different places and visited different schools, made a visit with the education ministry, just to see how I can become more of a support in the Liberian education system. So I'm looking to see, but as far as the books, the physical book itself, I want to make sure I take it there. So either by a family member or just have it mailed to Liberia.
I'm loving the conversation here. We've got some really good questions, some really great people on this call. Just so you guys know, you can also find information about Dr. Jasoe at fasmarketplace.com, just so everyone knows. Our next question is from Anjanesh Tadis. What is your next book going to be about? Oh, and by the way, try not to give us too many hints because I'm pretty sure we want it to be a surprise.
Yes. My next book, I actually started, and it's going to be part of so really it's going to be a series or a collection. So the next book, her grandmother comes to visit the United States. So, and grandmom has all the information that she wants, and so that's where we are right now. I'm up to where grandma comes to visit, and Bella is just so fascinated from the way she talks, and I mean, that's what's going on right now. And like Brienne said, I don't want to give too much too soon.
Well, I just want to thank you again, Dr. Jasoe. I know that we've been kind of bombarding you with questions for the past few minutes, and you've had such a great answer. So thank you so much. This next question is actually for me. I'm just curious, becoming an author, was it something that you've always wanted to do, or is it like a new dream that you created after you realized that you had to be kind of like the bearer of representation for people like you and for people where you're from?
I never had a dream to write. I mean, to be an author, like to write alone, being an author. So this I want to say specifically to kids because you get told you have to do certain things or certain ways, and because of that you get stuck in a box. And me being a free writer, it was very hard. Like, I have my doctorate and I still struggle to write an outline for a writing piece. But if you ask me to just write, I can just go on and on with pages. So I just assumed I was just such a horrible writer, and I would never have thought I would become a writer, an author. So just don't give up on your dream just because it doesn't match what society thinks it should look like. And I'm glad that my um, I guess my struggle to have a character in a book that represent me kind of pushed me to become an author, because I could have just sat there like, oh my goodness, is somebody ever gonna write this book? Or should I just make sure I improve my writing? I mean, not improve my writing per se, but should I just make sure I have that confidence in my writing to put it out there for people? Because I still feel a little nervous when somebody's reading my book, because I still have that in the back of my head that academic writing was not my thing. So yeah, I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, I can totally relate to kind of being put in a box, especially in school. I used to love writing. I wrote my own books and things like that. And, in school, when they would tell you to write an essay on a particular topic and they would assign it to you, if it wasn't something that I was interested in, it would be way worse than if it was something that I was passionate about. Which is why now, I'm in 7th grade, I kind of get to choose my topics or choose the books that I want to do a report on. I make sure that I choose a topic, or at least try to choose a topic that I'm passionate about and I will enjoy learning about and also enjoy writing about, because it makes your writing so much better. And you
Yes.
can kind of like really see the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Becca. I really like this question. It says, diversity in children's books is super important. How are readers responding to these books?
They're really liking it. It's funny because my ABCs of Africa, I didn't expect adults to be so into it. My goal was, okay, grab a book, teach your child. But I have a lot of adults like, oh, wait, oh, I didn't know this. And, they're trying to educate themselves too. So that's one way is the diversity, or just understanding the uniqueness of Africa I've been able to get it out there to adults or to people. Even with the children's book, I made sure that even with the name Willie, I wanted to choose a name that's hard to say, because how many kids in our urban, I'll say urban, just to, areas or schools get their names like mispronounced. So I mean, it's just such a thing. People just don't even try. So my thing was, okay, at least you can see this and say, oh wait, that's a hard name. But that's why that page in the statement about Mr. Langley saying her name right, that was something I came back after writing a book and added, because I wanted to make sure the kids knew, okay, you're unique. Unique doesn't mean you're bad. It's just different, and it could be a good thing.
As I mentioned before, I'm really into geography, and I love countries or capitals where the name is hard to pronounce, because I always like to try it out. And as someone who has had my name mispronounced before, I can definitely relate to being like, wow, this person actually got it right. For example, Burundi, I love saying names of countries that just have really hard names to pronounce, and being able to pronounce them is like, wow, that's super cool. We have some more questions. This one is from, sorry, my computer's kind of breaking up. Okay, there we go. This question is from Anjanesh Tadis. What do you say to new African writers who are just starting out?
Go for it. Go for it. Now, my ABCs of Africa, like I said, steps away from the stereotypes. So people are not going to be used to or comfortable with what you're writing about. So write it. Maybe you're that person. You're that person that's supposed to bring it out there so they can be exposed to it. How else they're supposed to get exposed to it if you don't? So go for it. Give yourself that chance, and do your research, because if your book, if you feel that confident about your book, you want to make sure everything you have in there, it's right, and truly represent the authenticity of Africa, or whatever. If your focus is African culture, that is, and make sure that people are asking you, they're asking about what a lot. When I read this book, they want to know more about Africa than just about the book. So you want to make sure you're knowledgeable about what you are going to be writing about.
Thank you so much. By the way, I'm sorry, I've been butchering the names. It's Anjanesh Tadessa. I'm so sorry, by the way. You learn something new every day. Sorry about that, my mistake. We have another question from Sandy Dixon that says, overall, how has the reception about your books been? What has it been like?
It's been good. It's been really good, because I thought that it was just going to be Africans or my friends and family that would have just bought my book because they like me. But I've done events at places where there are people that do not look like me or are from where I'm from. They're just interested because this is information that they have not been exposed to. So yeah, it surprisingly, like I had to mail a book out yesterday, and I was surprised. This is not somebody I know. This is not somebody that was referred to somebody that I know. So yeah, I've had a lot of people have been really open to just learning these unique things about Africa.
Okay, so just so everyone knows, questions will end at 5, but you can stick around after if you have any other questions. But for the last question for this part of the Q&A, it's another question from Anjanesh Tadessa. What kind of encouragements have you gotten from the African community?
Well, I think the fact that a lot of people are proud of me, and that in itself, just it's an encouragement because I really was just doing this kind of like for me for a selfish reason, so to speak, because I wanted me represented in a book. So, but just to hear every time I'm talking about my books, they're like, "Oh my goodness, we're so proud of you. Go ahead, make Liberia proud." And that's just like, okay, now I have people rooting for me, and it also makes me feel like, okay, I need to make sure I'm doing the right thing, doing it correctly, and even for my nieces and nephews. And look, I did it, and that's an encouragement because they have somebody to look up to, and that encourages me to want to push and do more.
Well, your story is so incredible, and I think that all that praise is well deserved. You obviously worked really hard, and it shows in your writing and in your books. Unfortunately, that's it for the Q&A. You guys can stick around a little bit after 5 if you have any lingering questions. Thank you to everyone who's joined. Thank you to Dr. Jasoe. It has been a pleasure getting to know you, getting to know more about your books. Obviously, you are a very talented writer. And I just want to say thank you for writing about topics that not many people represent well. You know, there's a lot of misinformation in the media about Africa. And, you know, coming from someone who has lived there and grew up there and knows that heritage and culture, it's just great that you're representing it in such a good way that many people don't. Um, if you guys are interested in purchasing a book from Dr. Jasoe, please visit her website, drjasoe.com. I will be putting it in the chat, that way you guys can shop for a book. And if you would like book talk along with other programs at FA's Marketplace to continue, please donate at fasmarketplace.org. That's fasmarketplace.org. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, Dr. Jasoe.
Thank you. And it was nice having everyone on here. Thank you for showing up.
And just so everyone knows, there will be a survey that is emailed to you after this Zoom call. So please fill that out. And remember, guys, you can ask Dr. Jasoe any lingering questions. So please stick around a little bit longer if you are interested.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Hi.
Hi. My name is Janine, and I am in and out because of the internet right now.
Okay.
I'm speaking to you from Liberia, and the author's talk was posted by a friend of mine, and I just wanted to share my excitement in hearing about your book, and also I thought I heard you say, I got cut off for a little bit, that you were coming, maybe traveling at some point, but getting a copy of your book would be a wonderful thing, so that if you are coming, if you could please bring copies to sell. There's some exciting things happening here with Liberian authors, and it would be great to see your books posted in some of the locations here.
Okay.
And so it's just an encouragement for you,
Okay.
stay on track, and hope to see more of your work.
Okay. I appreciate that. If you can leave your information, I don't know, you can send it or just go to my website and just send it to me or with the host, and I can have it and be in touch with you after this book talk.
So, Dr. Jasoe, before everyone heads off, is there anything else that you would like to say? Any other message?
Well, I just want to say this was a great experience. I first of all want to thank the people at FA Marketplace for setting this up. It was I really enjoyed being on here. And to everybody that was able to sign up for this Zoom meet, this was awesome. And I appreciate you guys taking the time and just being on here. It means a lot to me. And if you do want a copy of my books, remember my ABCs of Africa, and also it really goes down memory lane. If you need a copy of my book, please go to drjasoe.com and get your copy. And thanks to everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend.